Top 10 now. Notre Dame, Washington, Michigan, Arkansas, and then North Carolina State. Some late changes. We talked about Oregon moving up all the way in when they got the transfers from San Francisco. Obviously, where was Washington before Burton and Rainsberger transferred?
So Washington, before Burton and Rainsberger went in, Washington was in the 24 to 25 range. So adding Burton and Rainsberger made Washington a top 10 team. Oregon was in the 13 to 14 range, and then when they had the San Francisco transfers, they bumped into the podium spot. So big changes. It happened while we were doing the rankings, so we had to adjust our rankings because San Francisco and Oregon and Washington just wanted to screw everything up.
At least they didn't do it after.
That's true.
So we thank them for not doing it after. And North Carolina State, I think some people will be surprised that what happened with the Wolfpack.
Well, North Carolina State projected number 2, Rachel Kuhn, decided not to return for a 5th year with dealing with some injuries. So, but they have the depth enough. We had them 6. They stay 6 because they're still strong. You know, they got Nevada Marino coming in as a redshirt freshman. You know, they have a great lead star in Ellie Haynes. So, not really worried about North Carolina State. They're always going to be in that top 7 spot. And Notre Dame, though, they got Anna Rohr back, so that's why they're top 10. Some of the coaches' polls are very different from our poll because, you know, they don't know about, you know, some redshirt freshmen, some incoming international talent. But let's get right into it. And our final team, right outside, the always a bridesmaid, never a bride, Boise State. Literally, they've never podiumed.
I think this could be the year for Boise State, though. I mean, this is a stacked squad. You have Ali Ostrander, who's incredibly consistent, right? I mean, you can almost pencil her in for a top 5 finish. But beyond that, with Venters, O'Brien, I mean, it just goes on and on. That's a deep squad.
Yeah, and they had a great showing at the Sundog Invitational against Washington. Boise State, so close, but they could do it. Of all these teams that we haven't mentioned top 4, who would you say is your number 1 podium potential that's not currently ranked in the top 4?
That's not, so outside of the top?
Outside of our top 4, it was the Boise State, North Carolina State, Arkansas.
I mean, the Washington pick just sort of fascinates me.
Washington?
Yeah, because we just don't know. I mean, Burton had such an amazing year on the track. I mean, last year she was strong in cross country, but took a huge leap forward. If Rainsberger can get back to where she was 2 years ago, I mean, that team just fascinates me.
Wow. So you're going Washington for that crazy wild card.
If I had to pick a wild card, I'm not putting them in the top 4 yet, but I think they're the most fascinating. You?
Boise State, for sure. That's why they're ranked 5th, because I want them to be in the top 4.
Well, I didn't know we could choose them, but that's
we
fine.
can.
Okay.
I'm choosing Boise State. All right, so now let's go into it. Number 4, drum roll. Number 4 podium team, preseason. I mean, this isn't what's going to happen. Maybe they don't. Maybe they finish. Maybe they don't even make the meet, but they're going to make the meet. We're going with the Stanford Cardinal, led by Elise Cranny, Christina Aragon, and company. What are your thoughts on the Stanford women?
Well, they lose 2 big ones, right? They lose Vanessa Frazier, they lose Cranny from last year, but they have...
They don't lose Cranny.
Cranny's back.
Cranny's back.
Excuse me. Sorry. Fiona Keefe is back as well, too. I mean, Frazier, obviously, a big loss, but, I mean, with that level, with those amount of low stakes and that level of experience, I would expect them to finish no lower than 4.
Yeah, and I think so they were 4th last year. He said they had 165 points. They were 75 points back from New Mexico, so they weren't really close to a win. But they had a lot of ladies who finished in 30s, 40s, 50s. And I think in order for them to be not just a podium team, but like a national title, they need to finish in the teens, 20s, 30s, instead of 30s, 40s, 50s. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how Courtney Smith, the Harvard transfer, who everyone has forgotten about, she redshirted all last year, she transferred last year. We'll see what she can do. Remember, she was 35th in 2016. 35th. It's pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is nothing new for Stanford. They're not going to be scared by the big moment at all or the big race. So, yeah, I think 4 is appropriate just because that's how tough the women's side is this year. But it wouldn't surprise me if they jump up even higher.
So, I mean, look, running down, we have Fiona O'Keefe, Courtney Smith, Christina Aragon, Elise Cranny, Ella Donahue, Rebecca Story, freshman, who was 34th at Foot Locker, but that's run a 9:59, 3,200, 4:43 mile. Ella Donahue and Hannah DeBalsa. So they have some depth. It's gonna be exciting.
Aragon's interesting too. She had a really good spring as well.
I mean, yeah, Aragon's gonna do better than what she did. She was 67th. Yeah, she's not gonna finish 67th. Yeah. That's what's interesting. They have a lot of ladies who, again, finished. Elise Cranny was 57th. She's better than 57th. So it'll be interesting.
Top 3. Here we go.
Moving on. We have 3 teams left: Oregon, Colorado, and New Mexico. Is it gonna be New Mexico?
It is not gonna be New Mexico.
It's not gonna be New Mexico.
It's going to be the Oregon Ducks. So, as we mentioned, it's been an eventful summer for Oregon. Hayward Field is gone. The Powells are gone. Lily Burton, Katie Rainsberger on the women's side are gone. Also, some guys
Brody Hastings gone
as well too. Yeah, we'll get into that when we talk about the men's side.
Jackson and Josh Huey.
Both the Hovies are gone. But then in August or so, they started to retool, and they got this woman on the screen right now, Veronica Pajek, came from San Francisco with new Oregon coach Helen Lehman-Winters. But she wasn't the only one she brought over. She also brought over Elizabeth Brower. So that's 2 top 20 runners. Pajek was 5th last year. Add into that fact that they also got Philippa Bowden, a transfer from England, whose 10K personal best is about 5 seconds quicker than Pajek's. And then you also have Carmela Baez coming back as well. And Jessica Hull.
She was 34th last year at Baez.
Yes, Jessica Hull is a 1,500 meter NCAA champion. So don't worry if you're an Oregon Ducks fan. You quickly retooled and repurposed your team. Why 3, I guess, Gordon, is my question, and not 2 and not 4?
So it's definitely not 4.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely was being favored to the number 2 team over Oregon here, mainly because of the new changes that are going on in Oregon. And sometimes in cross country, change can affect a team. Even though you have the talent, they have the same coaches, but new atmosphere and maybe new situations, even just new facilities, new types of sneakers, I don't know, can affect.
Don't think they're changing that.
No, but it could affect a cross country team. I think they have the talent to not just be the number 2 team, but maybe even win the title. Yeah. But right now, they're conservatively at number 3, mainly because of the change factor of being in a new environment.
Check out this potential top 7. You have Pajek from Poland, Brower from Sweden, Bowden from England, Hull from Australia, Baez from Spain, and Ajoria, she's in the top 7. She's from Kenya. Maybe someone from the United States in there.
Yeah, Amanda Gura.
7. Right? Yeah, but you have 7 countries represented.
International.
In the top 7 there.
The hub. It's the UN of track and field right there, Oregon. Eugene.
So let's move on to number 2 now.
So I think it's going to be obvious. It's not New Mexico. It's Colorado.
Colorado Buffaloes coming in at number 2, led by Danny Jones, the 10th place finisher last year. She already has some individual national championships to her name, a team DMR title to her name. Wonder if she can get the last piece here.
Yeah, and again, look, I just said, the reason why Oregon is not 2 and Colorado is 2 was there's more consistency at Colorado. The same environment, the same athletes. There's no big change of incoming transfers and all that stuff. They've been there, they've done that. They have yet to really, break through the ceiling of winning. I mean, they wanted to win last year. New Mexico had a great year, so did San Francisco. But I think Colorado, they have returned a lot. They got a lot of 3rd year, 4th year girls, even 5th year girls. This is their year to really show that the Wetmore factor is real, and they're going to stay in the top 2. Not first yet, though.
In their projected top 7, there's 5 women who at one point or another in their career have finished in the top 43 or higher. So that just goes to your point there about experience. It may not have been last year, might have been 2 years ago, but there's experience all across this roster. And, I mean, even someone who you don't have projected in the top 7, when I look at your top 7 ranking, someone like Val Constian, who was like a monster in the steeple in the spring.
Who's showing 9:47 in the steeple.
Right, who, could be a 6 or 7 on the team. I mean, if she takes another leap up, then you could see a bunch of All-Americans for the Buffaloes this year. And I know we're not doing individual rankings in the show, but Danny Jones.
Oh yeah.
In the hunt for the individual title.
And I think we haven't mentioned her yet in the individual rankings, so we haven't finished in the top 4, I believe.
Okay.
So
stay tuned on that.
Stay tuned. But yeah, I mean, look at this. Like McKenna Morley, she was 50th last year.
Right.
She's better than that. She ran a 32:28 10K, a 15:45K, and a 9:06 3K.
Right.
15:45K is pretty legit. So Sage Herda is good. Again, they're all older. Danny Jones, senior. Morley, senior. Sage Herda, junior. Caldwell, senior. Shola, junior. Constantine, a junior. Madison Borman, a redshirt sophomore. So Annie Hill, the freshman coming in. She's run 4:19 and 15, 10:14, 3200. She's probably going to redshirt because they have so much depth. But
that's a tough squad to make. I was going to say, coming in as a freshman, looking at that team, you're like, okay, it might be a little while till I make a national championship experience. Number 1.
Who do you think number 1 is? I think it's going to be the Lobos, and I think a dynasty is brewing because I think they're not going to get beat. They are too good. Too good to get beat.
It's a tough squad. I mean, you see them up there. You got Edna Kurgat, defending champion. You have Wayne Kaladi, 7th. You have Charlotte Prowse,
which is top 12th, yeah.
Lou Charlotte Taylor. But
Alice Wright.
Sorry, Alice Wright, excuse me.
Get the UK.
UK, right. My apologies, UK listeners. But they get Adva Cohen, who's the Iowa Central transfer who ran a smoke and steeplechase.
929 at the Euro Champs.
Yeah.
929.
So just those top 3 alone
Top 4.
separate New Mexico here. I guess the only question mark, if you're going to put a question mark on this team, would be, okay, who's their 5th runner? So who do you think will be
Their
number
5th
5?
runner is Hannah Nuttall, a junior transfer from England. Here are her PRs. She's run 4:16 in the 1500 and 9:11 in the 3K. 9:11 is close to making NCAA indoors.
Right.
So she's definitely a talent. I look at her as being the best 5th that New Mexico's ever had. I think it's a better 5th than their 5th when they won in 2015, and that 5th finished 24th, and it was a Harvard transfer. I forget her name, but I honestly think Hannah Nuttall is going to surprise, and if she does, New Mexico's going to be unstoppable, because if their 5th is 25th, you're not going to beat them.
Do you think this is the best? If she's the best 5th, do you think this is the best New Mexico team?
I do, because I think it's the best New Mexico team. One, because Edna Kurgat, it's going to be better. Like she's going to win, right? Wendy Kaladi, I think, is a sleeper to be challenging Ali Ostrander for a top 4 spot, top 3 spot. So I think they have an incredible 1-2 punch. Charlotte Prouse going to be top 15 in my opinion. I think Ava Cohen. Okay, what's her name? Courtney Ferricks, American record holder. She ran 9:31 before she transferred to New Mexico, and then she finished in the top 10. She was a 9:31 steepler, finished in the top 10 that year, and went on to break the collegiate record in the steeple. Ava Cohen coming in the 9:29 PR in the steeple.
Yeah.
So I think she's going to have a Courtney Ferricks run and be in the top 10, top 15. And again, if your 4th is in the top 15, you're not going to get beat.
You're not losing.
And I think Hannah Nuttall, 9:11 3K runner, that's going to be top 30. Again, Oregon, I think, is the biggest scary. Even though we're ranked 3rd, I think Oregon is the biggest challenger because Pisick, Brower, Bowden, Hall,
Yeah, they could go.
Baez. It's a strong top 5.
Yeah. You can go kind of tit for tat.
Yes.
With New Mexico, with that top 3. Potentially. We don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, if New Mexico would have had an off day or something would go wrong this fall, they could kind of push in there. You don't really see anybody else matching the top 3.
I think if Colorado, Oregon, and New Mexico all have great days, New Mexico wins. I think the only way New Mexico loses is if one of their athletes has a bad day and Oregon and Colorado both have good days.
Right.
If they all have bad days, New Mexico still wins. They need New Mexico bad and the others all was perfect in order for New Mexico to lose.
And things rarely go to plan perfectly when
That's
when
true.
it comes to mid-November. Shall we get to the
You
men?
know what they say, what happens in Madison
Decides
is
the national championship.
and you eat cheese curds. That's what I'll be doing. So, there's our rankings. New Mexico 1, Colorado 2, Oregon 3, Stanford 4, and Boise State is flirting outside that top 4 and 5th.